let's talk about feelings and emotions. This is how I feel. I feel often when I meet people from other nations, from other countries, I feel like to some degree I'm interacting with someone from a different planet. That's how I feel. You know, there's that thick accent, there's the definite cultural differences. They don't fully understand our culture here, and it seems really weird and maybe uneducated and ignorant. But then at the same time, it's like, well, there are our own perceptions where we can't understand where they're coming from. And it just kind of feels like you're on a different planet when interacting with them, maybe even in their country. For example, 20 years ago, I went to Ecuador. This is just the first random story I'm thinking of to explain this. I was in Ecuador. I was in this church. And I remember I walked in and thinking, okay, well, I need to use the bathroom before the service starts. It was just a small little church, smaller than my house. Well, the men's bathroom was on the way into the main sanctuary. So literally, you walk in and you see a bunch of men at urinals like this. You see the backs of the men. And here's what's weird about it, is to get to the main room, everybody had to walk through this, including females. So imagine all these women and girls walking right next to, 6 feet away from men using the urinals there. That wasn't that long ago. It's 20 years ago, but that's not that long ago. So it's like, there's all kinds of weird stories. When I was in Thailand, so much in Thailand, it felt like I was in a different planet. I loved it, but it definitely felt like I was on a different planet. Just imagine for an American going to a place overseas where they don't have toilet paper. Thailand. Toilet paper is sort of rare over there. Instead, you have the little water fountain, the bidet, or whatever you want to call it. And actually, it's a lot better. It's a lot better than toilet paper. But still, when you go to a different country, as an American, it can feel like you're on a different planet. Yet in high school, when there were foreign exchange students, they'd come from places like Sweden. And it's like, what a cool person, but also what an interesting and kind of weird person. It's like they're from a different planet. So surely the rest of the world has to think that about Americans. But really what makes it interesting to consider, though, something Americans are known for, as far as exports go, is our entertainment, which this is a prime example, an American entertaining people who largely are not American. I can't say that most of my viewers and subscribers are outside the United States, but I can say a lot of them are. A good percentage, maybe a third at least, the people who regularly watch my videos are not American. They do not live in the United States. So it's almost like, probably to some degree, every time you watch a video of me talking about our culture here and our perception of DNA and test results and all these things, it's like, this guy's from a different planet. Well, I bet the feeling's mutual, and I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. I just think that's what happens. Now, and consider too, for Americans, who are our neighbors? We only have two, really. We've got Canada. They're not that different from us. We've got Mexico. Even then, they're not that different from us because so many Mexican Americans live here. So that's about on the only neighbors that's about as diverse as it gets as far as different nationalities. So when we are exposed to someone from a different nation, it really is a big deal for us. If I was in Europe and I was surrounded by all these other countries, here in the United States, that's what it's like to be in a state. Where I am, I live in a state that is bordered by 8 other states. So in theory, it's like going to 8 different countries in theory, but not really. But in Europe, you don't travel that far. You're already in a different country with its own culture and its own language. Whereas honestly, most state borders I cross, it's not all that different. We definitely don't speak a different language, and the different cultural differences really aren't that big of a deal typically when you cross a state border. So let's explore that. I think there's definitely a lot of truth in what I said here, that when you interact with a person from a different nation, often it kind of feels like they're an alien from a different planet. And especially for Americans, when we go to different countries, it kind of feels like we're on a different planet surrounded by alien people. Yes, they're still people, and yes, they can understand, we can all get along, but it feels like a different planet. Can anyone agree with me? In the comments right here.